people, especially in northern Tohoku. In addition, there is now a grave issue of radioactive contamination. Aftershocks are still continuing every day in Japan. Japan is an island country with frequent earthquakes. Earthquakes have brought about many tragedies and problems. I would like to know what you know about the Fukushima. Three years ago, Fukushima's population 90,000 people. I am also very worried about nuclear power plants. It is my belief that there is no peaceful use of nuclear energy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, my friends. Thank you. It uses uranium and plutonium, the materials which are also used to make nuclear weapons. First of all, uranium was used for the Hiroshima atomic bomb, and plutonium was used for the Nagasaki atomic bomb. I am also concerned about human errors. In Japan, we have very serious problems due to the accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. There are serious problems with the number 1, 2, 3, 4 reactors, and with the number and maybe with the number 5 and 6 reactors also. So the Prime Minister Abe decided a week ago that number 5 and 6 reactors are going to be closed down. I received email. We are now faced with the problems for radioactive contamination. However, there are 54 reactors in Japan. Very scary. The radioactive material may have spread to the Pacific Ocean. I'd like to apologize to the world for the serious problems this could cause. For example, radioactive materials released by the accident can accumulate in children's thyroid glands. This increases the risk of thyroid cancer. Iodine is a radioactive element. Health professionals have been examining 36,000 children, ages 18 or younger at the time of the accident at Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. The normal rate of thyroid cancer in children is 1 in hundreds of thousands, but 18 children in Fukushima prefecture have been diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And Fukushima's damaged nuclear power plants, there is a massive underground reservoir of contaminated water that began spilling from the plant after the 2/11 earthquake and going slowly into the Pacific Ocean. The national government and Fukushima prefecture are planning to return people to their houses located in the areas highly contaminated with radiation. I can't understand this policy of returning people to such places. The current permissible level of radiation after the accident is 20 times higher than the legal dose limit of 1 sievert. Another issue of concern is the further spread of radioactive contamination through incineration of contaminated debris, and distribution of contaminated food and other material. This is a really serious issue for a small country like Japan. Now in Japan, young mothers and fathers and other people worry about internal exposure to radiation, soil pollution, and agricultural products contamination. I strongly believe that people in Fukushima, especially babies, children, and pregnant women, should be evacuated from Fukushima as soon as possible. Nuclear energy has caused separation and discrimination in our society. So I ask, what is the solution to this major problem? I feel the only way for us to survive is to abolish both nuclear weapons and nuclear power plants in the world. Thank you very much.
Nuclear industrial complex in the world, and what you talk about is something that's on a much longer, smaller scale, but and not happening right away, right here in Albuquerque, because there's a thing called the Sandia Mixed Waste Landfill, and the government decided it was too expensive to clean it up. You know, it's down on Kirtland Air Force Base, and we had a citizen action group fighting for years to try to get them to clean it up. No way did they clean it up. They finally, what they did is just cover it with dirt. And you know, there is some evidence that the wind and animals running around there and stuff might spread that a little bit. And just recently now, you're not hearing anything about that. We can't get any news out on it. But what's happening is that there's big development and right next to it, Mesa del Sol community. And just recently, they were so proud announcing in the newspaper that a veteran who'd been in Afghanistan and lost his leg was given a home for his family in Mesa del Sol. What are we going to do to stop this shit?
Tell me how you really feel. Got a four-letter word.
Next question, please.
She says she understands your point of view very clearly.
Do you and do other Japanese in general feel that TEPCO and the Japanese government is incompetent or has been lying to you? It seems that they're guilty of one thing or the other, gross incompetence in how they handle this, or that they are just lying to you about the severity of what has happened, about what they're doing to try and stop it. It seems like every time we see something on the internet or in our newspapers, it's a description of some failure of some type of barrier that was put up to be a barrier and letting contaminated water flow to the sea. It just seems like 2.5 years out and nobody knows what they're doing or has any real sense where to go. Could you comment, please?
Thank you for your good question. I say Japanese. 先ほどの女性の方もおっしゃったように、この原発のなんでしょう、汚染というものについて、私たちこの人類が生きている間では解決できない問題になってしまいました。なぜならば、ウランから人工の科学者の手によって生み出されたプルトニウムは何百万年経ってもその汚染は消えないものですね。
And as the prior person spoke about, is that this is indeed a really big problem, just because the half-lives of all the materials involved really kind of goes beyond each of our individual lifespans, and this is a very serious problem because it continues and it's very difficult to come to a quick solution to because of the longevity of the problem involved.
そしてこの核の、ゴミですね、ウエストについても私たちは今私たちが生きているこのジェネレーションがどういうふうにやったら責任を取れるか、責任は取れないと思います。生み出されたものがあまりにもひどく悪魔的で大きなものであるからですけれども、これ以上私たちはこの汚染を広げないで、核のゴミを増やさない、燃やさない、これが地中にいくら埋めたとしても、これは私たちの子々孫々、未来の地球人がどうやってこれを防ぐのでしょうか、守れるのでしょうか。地球規模で汚されます。
And indeed, with as you mentioned, that the problems with dealing with nuclear waste, where she really feels that the most important thing is to stop producing it, because currently we have no way to deal with the waste we have created, and this is a problem that we are leaving to our children's children. It's because we have no effective way to deal in the long term with the waste that's created through nuclear power plant generation, and that this, you can't burn it, you can't bury it well enough, and so that this is indeed something that we, as people of our generation, are really unable to take responsibility for, because we can't deal with the situation in the now, because it will take many years out, and so we have to do something now to stop the increase in stop producing things that make nuclear waste.
個人的な私の活動を皆様にお伝えしますと、今月ですね、今月の17日に実は広島市の市議会へ広島の近くにあるニュークリアパワープランツの再稼働をやめるように議会の方に提出。
Okay.
In one paragraph or less.
I will do my best to remember all of that. So she says, on a personal level, what she is doing on a personal level to kind of pursue this vision is that recently there's been discussion of reopening a nuclear reactor close to Hiroshima, and so she's been involved in going and visiting prefectural assemblymen and speaking to the prefectural government about stopping doing that. And she said, unfortunately, the last time they got people together, there were only a couple of assemblymen who actually were there and listened, and that is kind of a depressing thing. She said that kind of nationally, that's kind of an ongoing issue, trying to get more people to listen, especially in positions of government, more people to listen to their concerns. And as she mentioned before, talking about just the difficulties of dealing with issues of things with very, very long radioactive half-lives, looking at nuclear waste, and looking at the fact that Chernobyl is still hot and will be hot for several hundred years, and when you have these kinds of problems, these kinds of accidents that have no quick solutions, it's really important to really work on the technology in order to try to find solutions as quickly as possible that we have to these problems that we have created without having a solution to the problems they created in the first place. Kind of a thing. And then I kind of lost the
Thank you very much, all of vigor and enthusiasm and information. My question is about TEPCO's current plan to freeze walls under the sea to contain the leaks of radioactive water now. And so everybody who's interested knows you can watch NHK English World on internet every night or every day, and keep it in the corner of your online screen on the internet, and you can see live NHK News every day on the current status of the Fukushima radioactive water leaks. So it's free.
Thank you.
And I'm very curious about how under the sea freezing walls are going to be sustained to contain the immediate leaks which are very serious yesterday and today, and the attempt to create frozen walls to protect this radioactive material. It seems very bizarre, but everyone can watch this up-to-date daily news, free, NHK English World or NHK World English.
はい、承知しております。ありがとうございます。NHK の放送、そして、とりわけ多くの日本のメディアは本当のことを語りません。
So indeed, most of the Japanese media is not, doing reporting as much as possible, and the reporting is generally very lax in terms of how critical they are with what the situation actually is.
その氷の壁を作るというのは全くのウェストフル、無駄遣いです。テプコの財務状況ととても関連しています。テプコを破産させない政府は、そして私たちの税金でテプコを助け、そして政府のお金でこの福島原発をきっとこれからも、続けていくんだと思います。ですがこれからの先、今全く解決できてないんです、実は。はい。
And so she's mentioned before.
のことでいつも渋っております。払いません。そこで私たちこのように皆様がここにお集まりくださいました。これからもずっと日本のこと、福島の原発のことを長くずっと続けて、いろんなニュースもご覧になっていただきたいと思います。これから福島ではいろんな発症が起こると思います。そしてチェルノブイリよりも早くアイオダインキャンサー出ると思います。タイロイドキャンサーが発症すると思います。でもありがとうございます。
And so indeed, along with, please, keep looking for the news and what's happening in Fukushima, and we're looking for, we're working hard to try to find ways to, find solutions to these problems. And thanks you for your time and for coming to things like this and keeping your awareness up. Be aware that these problems aren't going away soon, and that she's very angry that TEPCO takes absolutely no responsibility whatsoever for the scale of disaster that happened. She says thank you very much for coming to a place like this where you can learn more about what's going on.
Thank you to Shoko. If you had any other questions to ask, we'll need to do it after this is over. We're running a little bit behind, and there's actually another schedule or another event that's actually going from 6 to 8 with the rest of the group. So you can ask your question afterwards. We really have to get going, okay?
Mary Oishi is emceeing with a boogie woogie pianist, and they're in on it too. So, and you can converse with them during a potluck. We do have an announcement about a petition we're sending around. You may know that I'm here to start an Asian American Studies program, and I want to collaborate with Peace Studies. And I've been in Hiroshima. I'm going to be meeting with university people next week, and my proposal is to start a cultural exchange and research exchange between UNM and the World Friendship Center that sponsored us. So more about that, but I see all these votes here, and I just have the idea that I would send this piece of paper around, and if you're interested in something like that and we would like to sign it, we would appreciate it very much.
Maybe you should have someone.
Yeah, have it up at the table.
So we're going to move on to our final speaker, who is Akiko Awa.
Come to the table and sign a petition.
That's over.
That would be
There's no time. He said to come to the table. I mean, we don't have any more time.
Okay, let's not have this. Let's end this. Let's have some nice closure here.
3 minutes, just an introduction, because after this very heated discussion, I don't need to say anything. And I came here and I wanted to say about the danger of radiation, because I was born in Eastern eastern part of Hiroshima Prefecture, which was about 60 miles from Hiroshima City. None of my relatives or families were affected directly from the atomic bombing in Hiroshima. So people tend to talk about the victim side when something happens. But in my case, I cannot be so much sympathized with the A-bombing in Hiroshima very much until I moved to Hiroshima. After I got married, I moved to Hiroshima. And for the first time, I realized the importance of this issue. And now I'm working as a volunteer guide in the Atomic Bomb Museum. And at that time, I always emphasized that the hibakusha are not only from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All over the world, there are many hibakusha, the victims of radiation from the hydrogen bomb testing in the Pacific Ocean near the Marshall Islands, and also from the nuclear power plants. In 1986, Chernobyl's nuclear power accident occurred, and after that, many children from that contaminated area came to Hiroshima because Red Cross organization or the groups invited them to Hiroshima because Hiroshima's doctors know how to deal with the radiation sickness. But actually, it's very difficult to deal with radiation sickness. And after that, Fukushima's accident occurred. And every time something happens, they say it's the responsibility of the Japanese government, this responsibility of the electric power company. But how about the responsibility of citizens? Citizens allowed them to make nuclear reactors, and during the World War, my father had fought in China, and the aggression, how about the aggression of Japanese military? So the first thing we have to do is, what is the citizen's responsibility for the future? So now we are facing to the hazard of nuclear power plants. So we have to think, every individual person has to think, we should accept these nuclear facilities, we should accept that nuclear weapons. That is most important. And during the Cold War time, even in Japan, many people, I studied Russian language because I wanted to know Russian people. But if I studied, when I was studying Russian language, some people said maybe I'm a communist or something. Maybe that aspect is much stronger in America. And so when something is happening, what's the most important thing to, as a citizen? So that aspect I would like to emphasize. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to do one question, and then for anybody who would like to ask questions of any of our guest speakers today, you can do it in the 10 minutes that we're going to take to set everything up for the potluck and everything. So one question.
I just want to say.
Sweat.
Yes, okay. I just want to say that obviously because of the atomic bomb situation in history, and also now the nuclear plant problem in Japan. Obviously, Japan is our teacher about this subject. And, you know, it's up to all of us to kind of wake up and understand what they're teaching us and to become world people, because this is an issue that is not only about Japan, it's about the world and the future of our world. So if anybody wants to research more information about the Fukushima incident, what's happening right now, it's very easy to go online and to see how much foreign people have contributed to the situation there. Foreignvolunteers.org, a man named Bob Stigler has an organization called Resilient Japan.org. Anyway, it's very easy to find, and lots of inspirational things are happening in Japan, and you know, with people like you and me are doing that, and it's just by listening to their stories that somebody decided to make a trip to Japan and help. And that's what's needed now, because the world needs to understand what's going on. So thank you all to do that.
All right, everybody. So we need to set up for.
She has one more question.
Okay.
If I could, this is not a question of the panel who have been outstanding, but I am an online instructor, and I have never met I've only met one of my students. And so if anybody is here from the Peace and Conflict online class, anybody? I'm your prof. If you can stay for a little of the potluck, we could even say hello and be human at each other. Which has a lot to do, by the way, with the people power that can help us to resist things like expansions of nuclear weapons and nuclear power. We need to get to know each other.
Community.
Excellent point. All right, everybody. So let's give a big round of applause to our presenters. Thank you so much for coming over from Japan. Greatly appreciate it. I know some of you will be leaving, some of you will be staying for the potluck that's running from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Mary Oishi is going to be emceeing that portion of what's going on tonight. In the meantime, for the next 10 minutes or so, anybody who would like to give us a hand, we need to set up some more tables, kind of following the pattern that we have, and we're moving some chairs around. Feel free to ask some questions of folks. I'm sure they're open to that. And thank you for everybody for coming.
This program that I'm taping here tonight, I'm Alan Cooper with Quote Unquote, is sponsored by, it was being held at the Peace and Justice Center, Peace Hall, at Stanford and Silver, Southeast in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Desi Brown can be contacted for further information at unmpeacestudies@gmail.com, unmpeacestudies@gmail.com, or you can call him at 505-256-0668, 256-0668. And this is recorded on the 30th of September, 2013.
For to all Americans of Japanese descent of traveling to Hiroshima this August, and to be part of the commemoration there, and to put on a play that Vicki wrote called Breaking the Silence. And we got to meet these wonderful people from the World Friendship Center, and Herb invited them all to come here, both to Seattle and to Albuquerque. They were very interested in being ambassadors for peace. So thank you for showing up. We're going to have a really packed next 45 minutes here for you, and at the end of the night we'll give you a chance to sing along with some peace songs if you'd like to do that, and civil rights songs. I invited my dear friend Halima Christie to come tonight, and she's a great boogie-woogie piano player, played with Janis Joplin and all kinds of famous people. Wow. And so anyway, all right, so without further ado, I would like to introduce Joanne Sims, who is one of the former directors of the World Friendship Center in Hiroshima that helped to plan our trip there and their trip here. So please give a warm welcome to Joanne Sims.
Thank you for coming tonight. It really is a pleasure to be in Albuquerque. We just came from the Seattle area where they had the record-breaking rainiest day since 1948. And we are so enjoying beautiful, sunny Albuquerque today. The World Friendship Center is a Japanese peace organization founded by Barbara Reynolds, an American, nearly 50 years ago. She felt so strongly that the stories of the survivors of the atomic bomb were so compelling and that reached and touched the hearts of everyone that in order to promote peace, she wanted as many people as possible to hear the story. So the World Friendship Center has that goal, to tell the story of Hiroshima from a personal perspective in hopes there will never ever be the horror of an atomic war for anyone, anywhere on this earth. The second goal of World Friendship Center is really to work for nuclear weapon disarmament. So they do many kinds of peace activities. And one of them is, every 3 or 4 years, they send a group from Hiroshima to other countries to tell the stories so that they can promote peace. The motto of World Friendship Center is to foster peace, one friend at a time. And so it is because of that goal and that mission of World Friendship Center that we are here this evening. So thank you very much. My husband in the blue shirt back there, he joined me with when we spent just recently 2 years as volunteer directors of the World Friendship Center. We returned home, USA home, July 8 of this year, and then began working to put this all together with the capable help of many people here in Albuquerque, in Portland, and in Seattle. So thank you again.
Thank you, Joanne. All right, I'd like to introduce our panel tonight. The first one is such a dear person to me because he took me to my very first Obon Odori, which is a dance to bring back the ancestors. And I very much appreciated that. We also went and had great sushi on our way there, a bunch of us. And I hate to admit how many tiles I stacked up. But So-san is 72 years old. He was a child walking to school with his older sister on August 6, 1945. And his story includes interest in the environment and the long-term health effects of radiation. So would you please go up and take a seat at the panel? Thank you. So was also interviewed today by Paul Ingalls of KUNM, and there should be a segment on Wednesday morning's news show about So. All right, Michiko is 64 years old. Her mother broke the silence of her experience in Hiroshima only 1 year ago. Often people who are traumatized wait a very long time to talk about it. So Michiko, please go to the stage. Thank you. The next one is Akiko, and I met her at the potluck in Hiroshima, and she really impressed me as a really dynamic human being. So I'm so happy that she's here in my town now. Her world travels to nuclear test sites and to nuclear accident sites, so she has a lot of information about the damage of nuclear weapons and nuclear power. Akiko-san. I'm sorry, I sometimes forget the honorable syllable after the name. Yoko-san she has a lot of information about gaijin, or outsiders, who helped to rebuild Hiroshima, such as the Barbara Reynolds, who founded the World Friendship Center. So, Yoko-san, please join the others on the stage. They're going to give a few minutes each, 2 or 3 minutes, where they talk about why they're here, and then you can come up to the microphone. I don't know where in the middle. Oh, in the middle, and ask them questions afterwards. So we'll do that too. But first, we'll let them speak. So first, So, please.
Let me sing all Japanese song. 夕焼け小焼けの赤とんぼ 信号さえあてさ
She needs to pick up the mic.
You have to use the microphone.
させてください。3分って言われたんで、急に言われてちょっとできないのですいません。私は今回母の被爆体験をプレゼンしてます。母は19歳で被爆しました。爆心地から近かったため、家の中にはいたんですけども、ガラスで顔や足の方に傷がたくさんありました。で、どうにか助かったんですけども、兄弟弟3人はやはり50歳60歳で、肺がんで亡くなってしまいました。今兄弟はいなく1人になりました。でも母はやはり今強く平和を訴えております。お願いします。
So I'm sorry this is very brief, in 3 minutes it's kind of hard to get all of this across. But I came here to tell the story of my mother. My mother was 19 at the time of the bomb, and because her house was so close to school, she had not left for school. And so she was inside when the bomb went off. However, all the walls and the windows were blown out, and she was scarred with the broken glass. She was left with many scars. She survived, but all of her siblings have since passed away from various cancers as effects of the bomb. And her mother, though, is still alive and still healthy at this point.
Hello, my name is Akiko Awa. I'm here because I'm not so serious activist, but I'm interested in world global issue. And during the Cold War time, I was studying Russian language, and that the Chernobyl's nuclear power plant's accident occurred. And about several years after that accident, the Japanese doctors or Red Cross organization invited the children from that contaminated area, and I was asked to take care of them in my very poor Russian language, and also I had some educational background of medical science. And after that I started to think about the atomic bombing on Hiroshima and also radiation issue. So my starting point about this kind of thing is more rather than atomic bomb on Hiroshima, but nuclear power plant accident. And I think that citizens' responsibility is very, very powerful, very important. And people tend to talk about the tragic, something happens, always the victim's side. But in my case, I'd like to think about these things more objectively. During the war, World War II, my father fought in China. So Japanese military's aggressive, very aggression was have to be discussed. And also, A-bomb on Hiroshima was tragedy for Japanese people. But other major cities like Tokyo or Nagoya or Fukuoka, these major cities were also bombed, as well as Dresden or many German cities. And also in Russia, 1 million people were killed during the several days of fighting in Stalingrad, Volgograd now. So when we think about the tragedy of wars or tragedy of any kind of accidents, we always think about not only from the victim's side, but also the responsibility of the civilian side. So now when we think about the future of nuclear power plants, we still can do something from the citizen side. So in order to talk about this kind of aspect, I came to America. And also I wanted to meet Joan and Larry. That's the most important motivation that this time I come here. Thank you.
My name is Yoko Imada です。日本語で話します。広島は一瞬のうちにたくさんの家が 失われました。そこで家を失った人たちのために一人のアメリカ人の人たちが広島に来て21軒の家を建ててくれました。
So I'm here from Hiroshima to talk about the fact that on that morning, many people lost their homes in Hiroshima, and I'm going to tell the story about Americans who came to Hiroshima to try to build homes for people who had lost everything, and that group came in and made 21 houses.
たくさんの家が必要な時にわずか21軒ですけれども、広島の人たちはとてもありがたく感謝しています。そしてその気持ちをこれから平和な世界を築く子どもたちに伝えようと思って、子どもたちに紙芝居をこのようなものを作って、そして子どもたちに伝えています。
So even though there were so many people that didn't have houses, and the group was only able to make 21 houses, the people of Hiroshima are still very thankful for the efforts of this group to come over and try to build houses for peace. And her story is that she has worked very hard to be able to tell the story of this group, such that she has created a large series of picture stories that she can then take to the children and show children what happened, and to tell the story of the people that came to Hiroshima to build houses to encourage peaceful relations.
その中の一軒が今平和記念資料館の分館として開設されました。世界中の人々からたくさんの与えられた、寄せられた感謝の気持ちの展示をこの中でしております。そこで私は案内をしております。
So one of these houses, it's the last house that is standing, and it was used as a community center for many years, and they've just completed moving it slightly in order to make room for airway, as they've now turned it into a museum honoring the memory of the groups that came to Hiroshima in the aftermath of the war to build houses, and they've got many different articles and exhibits from people from all over the world who have brought them there to be just put on display there at the museum as a monument to international understanding.
その人の名前はフロイド・シュモーさんで、この場にフロイド・シュモーさんに会われた方があそこの黄色のシャツの人でいらっしゃいます。
And the person who did this, who was in charge of the project, his name is Floyd Schmo. And it's called the Floyd Schmo House. And actually there's one person here today, over there in the yellow, and she's actually met Floyd Schmo. She met him in Seattle.
Well, even better, 2 New Mexico students went to Seattle at Reverend Schmo's invitation to inaugurate a Sadako Children's Peace Statue. And it was 2 years before they built the peace statue in New Mexico. Bonnie Malcolm and Dana Kaplan, and I think there was another boy, David Rosa. 3 New Mexican students in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades were invited by this wonderful man to, in his later years, he was inaugurating a peace statue on an intersection outside of Seattle, and the New Mexico children were invited to be present and to introduce their idea to build their children's peace statue. So we have a big connection with our heart with this man and his amazing work to build. Just looking at all that. So please look at this album at the table afterwards. Thank you.
You know, before we get to our questions, thank you for coming tonight. Before we get to our questions for the panel, would the rest of the delegation from Hiroshima please stand?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
The rest of the delegation, please. Everyone else who came from Hiroshima, so we can welcome them. Okay, so if you have a question for any of the panelists, I should have a sign in front of them what their name is, but if you would like to come up to the microphone, and I guess this gentleman will translate for you and for them if they don't speak English. Okay, does anyone have a question?
Because you just sang a song, so how about if you tell a little bit about what happened to you that day?
At the moment?
Just the first couple pages, just what happened to you that day?
Two people out of a large number of people there. One was a junior high school student. He was burned all over his face, and his nostrils were clogged by peeled skin. He was breathing painfully through his mouth. My mother removes the skin out of his nostril with tweezers. It looked very painful. He must have worn a cap. His hair remained only in the part covered by the cap. The other was a young girl. She was burned and the pattern of her dress were printed on her arm. You have had an experience of burn, haven't you? Even small burn hurt very much. I wonder how badly those two people suffered from the burn.
Presentation, and all of these folks who are with us are going to be doing various presentations around the state in different schools and organizations, but you know, the story for him was that his sister jumped on top of him when the bomb went off, and they were kind of in almost like the outskirts of town, and so his sister died of radiation from the black rain that fell afterwards, and he has been struggling with cancer, is right now in remission. But she saved his life by getting on top of him, but he lost many family members and school mates and all of that. So his story was quite moving to me when he told it in Hiroshima. But he's such a wonderful man. He was just like, when he was at Obon, he was dancing like a happy schoolboy. It was quite fun. So does anyone have a question for any of the panelists, or do you want to hear more of their? Yes, please go up to the microphone in the center there.
日本語で最初に質問させてください。どうして夕焼け小焼けの歌を歌われたのですか？ I was wondering, why did you sing that song? What does it mean?
被爆体験その他非常に辛い話をしてますので、あえて私は日本の古い歌を歌いました。
So he says that it's quite a difficult memory to speak about, and it's kind of a hard thing, but it feels like he wants to sing that to help him feel better.
What does it mean? What does the song mean? I know that, but she's asking.
Yes,
Could you explain a little bit of the meaning of the song?
もうちょっと詳しく歌の意味を、詳しくその歌のもうちょっと詳しくその歌の意味を。
何か原爆と関係してらっしゃるところが。
Title is Red Dragonfly. Very famous old Japanese. Don't you know?
I know. I was just
Yeah, I'm representing this. You see how he is to get.
What is it? Shall we translate?
I'll sing. Dragonflies as red as sunset, but when I was young, in twilight skies on her back I'd ride when the day was done. So maybe you understand the atmosphere of this song.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? その歌はなんか戦争の時に出稼ぎに出てた女性の歌だって聞いたことがあるんですけど、何か今回の原爆と何か関係があったのでしょうか？
So our question is,
I heard the song was about the women who was working outside when during the wartime. So does it have anything to do with nuclear weapon?
No, I chose this song because this is a very beautiful song, and this is a story of a very poor Japanese. Before the war, people's life was very poor, and this is not the song during the wartime, but many very poor girls or farmers had to go to the city to work for some rich people, and this girl is still 13 years old or 14 years old. And so when at the sunset time, she is thinking about her hometown and her parents, her family, and still when she saw a lot of dragonflies, she was very comforted. It's not because of the atomic bomb.
わかりました。どうもありがとうございました。Thank you so much.
So they're doing a lot of singing. Apparently that makes them feel good to do that here. So why don't, oh, you have another question? After her question, maybe you could have your choir come up and do a number. Several of them here, I heard them do a beautiful concert at church there when we were there. So, okay.
It's not really a question, it's more of a comment. I don't know for how many people I'm speaking, but I just want to apologize on the behalf of the American people. We're deeply ashamed that we're the only country in the world that has dropped atomic weapons. And we're deeply ashamed of the damage it did to your family. That's it.
You said that for me.
特には質問はないんですけど、ちょっと特にはコメントでここに来てる人々にいろいろ同じ気持ちだと思いますが、結局あれすごくなんていうか被爆を落とされたのはアメリカがやったのはすごく謝りたいです。すごく自分の国としてはちょっともうすごく恥なことなんで、だからそれはもう心からちょっともうみんなに伝えたかっただけです。
I wish to ask one question if we do the fun part.
I was trained in Seattle to be a Nichiren Daishonin Buddhist back in 1965. And I have never understood how your people could be as spiritual as you are and survive what has taken place. So it isn't really a question as much as that I'm very impressed. And you're here talking about it, and thank you.
じゃあ皆様方がこの辛い思い出を経験して、この勇気を出してこれがみんなここでアメリカ人に来てそういうような、この演説するのはすごくもう光栄なことだと思います。
Good evening. My name is Mervyn Tilden. I'm from a place called Churchill, New Mexico, the site of the worst accident in the United States history with nuclear development. The company Hydro Resources Incorporated is making plans to start up this uranium mine again. And so it's been over 30 years that we have been trying to stop this mine. What is the most important thing that we can do as a community, international community, to unite and help bring understanding to put a stop to the extraction of uranium, to the nuclear development, where like here in Albuquerque there's over 2,000 warheads? That's my question.
ニューメキシコのある都市はね、この辺の一番アメリカ国内最大の、原子力物の事故があったところで、そこの同じ会社がまたここのユランの鉱山をまたやり始まろうとしてるんで、この30年間かけてそのウランの鉱山をやめようとしてるんですけど、どういうふうに地域としては市民としては
中国電力という電力会社が広島、中国地方に電力を供給しています。その中国電力は 山口県の上関というところに新たな原子力発電所を作ろうとしています。私は作ってほしくないので、何遍もそこに行って一番、激しい運動をしたのはその工事現場に。
So he relates the story that in Hiroshima, one of the power companies wanted to make a new nuclear power plant and to start working it, and he was very much opposed to that. So he did what he could do. So he went up to the construction area and he laid down in front of it. And he said that is what all else fails. You just have to lay down your body to try to stop things.
I would like to add, through our efforts in helping our own government understand, a little over 5 years ago, the Navajo Nation has passed a tribal resolution and an executive order banning the extraction and development of uranium anywhere on the Navajo reservation.
Yes.
方がナバホここの辺のアメリカ原民族のナバホ一族のナバホ国としてはこのナバホの全ての管理している地域はウランの鉱山は一切しないように今法律を出しました。
My life is very simple. I don't drive any cars. And I hang the laundry in the sun. So we don't need to change the sun rays into energy or electricity. In that way, we can reduce the amount of energy to consume. That aspect is also very important. Changing our lifestyle, not to buy too much energy.
Voice.
Okay.
Thank you for being here tonight. Last year on Hiroshima Day, Occupy and some other groups got together and we went to the Los Alamos labs and we closed them down for the day. We completely interrupted their business for the day. There was a third of the people in this room. So if this many people showed up when we did those kinds of things, it would be amazing. But one of the things is that it was completely militarized. There were tanks, there were guns, there were drones. So the regime here is so brutal that people are afraid to step out. And I'm just wondering if the Japanese regime is the same response. Are they equally as violent?
去年皆様最初は皆さん来てくれてありがとうございました。去年ここの辺のいろんな平和団体のグループが、広島の日っていうのは8月の6日にそのいろんなグループの人たちがみんな集まってロサルマスという原子力研究所のところにいて、そこでみんな集まってもう一日ストップをしました。もう出入りはみんなそこの従業員とみんなでもう出入りはできなくなってそこに一日ストップしてなんだけどここはそれは成功にしたんですけどそこら辺の整備がねすごく軍隊的な整備がもうたくさんでここら辺の政治も結局例えばアメリカみたいに機動隊とかさ軍を採用する
機動隊を私の場合は私の経験では機動隊の必要はなかったですけども、しっかり公安、警察。
There really wasn't that much of a very militarized police response, so the SWAT teams weren't out, but the police were out in force, and the police also keep a very detailed account of who are members of the group and who to keep watch for. That's what his experience is.
Sounds like America.
デモする場合には公安に届けでなければならないということが大きくあります。そしてデモの先導しているというような状況です。無届けというのは許されないというのが一応原則にはなってます。
So in Japan, it's a very relatively structured society. It's very important that it's very difficult to have an organized protest without getting permits. And while the permits are not especially difficult to get by, they are still very You can't really do any kind of a large-scale protest without any kind of permitting. And getting the permit, the police will be there, to kind of block the way, to move the way for you, but they're also there really to watch you as well, to see it's all part of the demonstration. So.
私の父さんと同じ、メンバーの一人なんですけれども、広島に来てから毎月一度中国電力本社の前で凱旋活動をしています。アンチ原発運動とつながっていて、亀の関ネットワークというところからニュースがあるたびに送っています。その中心人物、コアになる人は数人で、私たちにもいろんなことを教えてくれます。足元にある地元に来てなおなりました。
So she wants to build on what Soa talked about earlier. Is that as part of a group, they meet one time a month in front of the offices of Chugoku Electric, which is in charge of some of the power of the nuclear power plants, and they do one day a month protests at the office, telling the employees and the president of their desire for ending of nuclear power. And they have a whole email network set across the country to send out to other people of like-minded individuals and groups to do the same kinds of protests at other power agencies across Japan.
I have a little experience with this. About 2 years ago, I went to Japan to volunteer after the tsunami hit northern Japan, and I had to wait in Osaka before going up to Tokyo because there wasn't enough bottled water available at the time, and then wait there before going up further north. But I got a message while I was in Osaka that there was going to be a march through the center of Osaka, like a Fifth Avenue type of area, all the way down to what would be Wall Street in Manhattan. And there were about 2,500 people that marched, and by the time we got down, it had grown to about 4,000 people. And there were policemen lining the way, and they were a little firm with us sometimes, but it seemed that they were only firm when people were straying out into the street or getting into the traffic, and they would kind of stop the cars to help keep us safe. So that seemed to be their main purpose. They were playing a supportive role.
でこの間昨日の2年前に広島で東北の大震災の時にボランティア活動としては行こうとしたんですが、その当時は大阪で道のデモがあって、でそのデモの始まりが2500人の人が始まったんですけど、結局終わるところはもう4000人まで増えてきて。